politics, but the mind stays steady. Mirrors crack, but the truth's still clear. Healing whispers, you belong here. More than therapy, more than pain. Find the rhythm in the rain. Speak your story, let it breathe. More than silence, more than me. Clouds hang low, yet the sun stays patient. Scars hold roots deeper than the basement. Shadows dance where the heart once hid. Every crack tells a life well lived. Breathe in, breathe out, let it all flow. The weight's a teacher, the hurt helps you grow.
Yeah. All right. And welcome to More Than Therapy. Today's guest on the More Than Therapy podcast is Laura Bratton, a keynote speaker, author, coach, and founder of Ubi Global, an organization devoted to helping people navigate adversity with grit and gratitude. Diagnosed with a rare eye disease at the age of 9, Laura spent her teen years gradually losing her sight and learning how to rebuild her identity in the dark. She went on to graduate from Arizona State University with a degree in psychology and later became the first blind student to earn a Masters of Divinity from Princeton Theological Seminary, bringing her lived experience of suffering, resilience, and faith into her work with others. Laura is the author of Harnessing Courage, Overcoming Adversity with Grit and Gratitude, where she shares how grief, determination, and everyday thankfulness can coexist in the hardest seasons of life. Through her speaking and coaching, she equips individuals and organizations to move through change, loss, and uncertainty while still trusting that they are enough, validating their emotions, and practicing self-compassion along the way. Laura, welcome to the More Than Therapy podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Indeed. So Laura, take us back to when you were 9 and first learned about your eye disease. What do you remember about how that news landed in your body and in your spirit?
So the gift of being a 9-year-old was that cognitively I heard the diagnosis, but emotionally, as you perfectly said, in my body, in my spirit, I didn't fully comprehend mentally, emotionally what that meant. Because again, in my 9-year-old mind, I could see then. So I assumed I would always see. That's how life would always be. It landed in my body and deeply in my spirit as a teenager when I significantly started to lose sight. So throughout the 4 years of high school, through the 9th grade, for when I graduated, that's when I lost all of my sight. I would lose a significant and then it would plateau. And then I would lose a significant. And then by the end of high school, I have what I have today, just no usable vision.
I can't imagine. I don't think most people can imagine how somebody, at that age, gradually losing, and then at the prime age where you would want to see all the things, want to experience all the 5 senses. I was just talking to my friend last night about this interview that I was about to do today, this podcast I was about to do today. And we were talking about what sense could we do without, and we were just all over the place, regarding our answers and why those answers were what they were.
Yeah.
You said that the transition to blindness unfolded over many years. What were some of the key grief moments along that journey, and how did you move through them?
Just the major grief was constantly grieving what I knew I was losing. So it wasn't a one-time grief process of grieve your vision loss. It was a constant progress of grieving. It was almost like I was grieving it, not over and over, but grieving it in layers. Because as I lost a significant amount of sight, then I couldn't reprint anymore. Then I lost more sight, then I couldn't walk around physically by myself anymore. So the grief was that much more difficult because it was ongoing and it was constantly grief and adjust and then grief and adjust. So yes, words words can't put into just the severity of how difficult that process was.
I can't even imagine. How did becoming blind as a teenager and young adult shape your sense of identity, especially in those in-between years where you were losing but not yet fully without sight?
So my identity was always relating to when I had full sight. And what I mean by that is in conversation with someone, whatever we were talking about, it didn't matter the conversation. I would somehow connect it to and relate it back to, well, when I had full sight, blah, blah, even though it had nothing to do with the conversation, it was like I thought my identity had to be connected to, I used to have full sight. So that was my main focus that I was desperate to connect with. But I used to be full-sighted, almost to say, like, I used to be like you. So it was that.
Ooh. Boston, let's go to commercial break. And now we go to a commercial break.
Not today.
I'm here. You can tell me anything.
I see you. We're in this together.
Breakthroughs are happening.
Treatments are evolving.
The stats can change.
Society can change.
We can all say, not today.
Not today.
Not today.
Not today.
Not today.
If we're together, bound to be better. When we're together.
How to start that conversation with your friend about their mental health. First, make sure you aren't too far away. Closer. Closer. Whoa, too close. Now ask something open-ended like, you all good?
Are you all good?
Or is everything okay?
Is everything okay?
Well done, awkward teenage actor.
Actually, no. Thanks for asking.
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
Awkward.
All right, and we're back. On this show, we talk a lot about resilience. How do you personally define courage, and how is it different from simply pushing through?
The way I want to start by talking about the way that I first defined resilience as I went through those high school years of initially adjusting. And then I want to give how my understanding of resiliency has completely changed. So when I was in high school, and again, as you were asking about the identity piece, to me, resiliency was pushing through, being strong, not validating your emotions, not even feeling your emotions, just somehow getting through by not complaining. That's how I define resiliency. As I've gone through this incredibly healing journey of mind, body, spirit, what I've learned resiliency is that space of acknowledging and validating the hard. So acknowledging, yes, becoming blind and adjusting to life without sight is really, really difficult. Validating those emotions that come with it, with change, with grief, and then choosing to still move forward. So rather than just resiliency, just being strong, ignoring, pushing on, I've realized it's acknowledging the difficulty and then still choosing to move forward.
I get it. Your work centers around grit and gratitude. How do you define grit, and what does gritty living actually look like on a day like this, an ordinary Tuesday?
I'm so glad you asked that right after we talked about resilience. So just as I described resiliency, grit is closely related. And I love the work of Dr. Angela Duckworth. So she talks about grit as we have the long-term goals, but within those long-term goals, we have daily manageable small goals for each day. So for me specifically, the long-term goal is living life in a sighted world without sight. The day-to-day goals look like getting through each day, whatever that day might hold. In the beginning, in those high school years, it looked like just getting throughout the day without a panic attack, or in despite of the panic attacks. As you perfectly said, today, on just an average Tuesday, it looks like feeling the hard emotions and moving on. So feeling the anxiety and then choosing to acknowledge anxiety, turn towards anxiety, and then continue forward. So it looks like that constant balance of feeling what I feel and then choosing to move forward rather than just being overwhelmed by the emotion.
Indeed. Gratitude. Gratitude can feel like a spiritual cliche when life is falling apart. How do you practice authentic gratitude in the middle of real adversity and not after the fact?
So for me, gratitude is all about acknowledging and being thankful for what helps me navigate through the difficulty. So a real world practical example is when I am incredibly anxious and feel that anxiety in my body, I'm holding that tension in my body, or whether that's, shallow breath or that butterfly nauseous feeling in your stomach when we're really anxious, is feeling that. And then for me, it's walking outside and experiencing the wildlife and just being grateful I can hear and sense and smell all the gifts of nature. So yes, I could walk outside and be incredibly frustrated and angry and overwhelmed that I can't see it. Yet what I can do is experience it through the hearing, through my sound. So it's a constant reframing of, yes, this is really difficult, and I choose to focus on what gets me through. And I want to make it really, really clear. It's not gratitude minimizing the pain. Just as you said, I can't remember your exact words, the spiritual cliche, or I don't know, I can't remember your exact words, but
yeah, that's a spiritual cliche. We look at it like it's always associated with spirituality.
So Dad, thank you for saying that, because I want to make that very, very clear. It's not gratitude to cover up the pain. It's gratitude to help us get through the pain. So the term I love to use is, it's not gratitude like spiritual bypass. Like we're just going to be grateful so we don't feel the pain or acknowledge the difficulty or depression or anxiety or whatever we're feeling. It's gratitude to recognize in the anxiety, in the depression, here's what I'm grateful that gets me through.
Indeed. When you think about resilience, what are the core ingredients you see in people who are able to bend without breaking?
Those people that are willing to acknowledge the difficulty they're in and still move forward. And again, an example of what I mean by that is someone that I worked with was recovering from an injury, and she was deeply, deeply, deeply fearful that as an athlete, as she stepped back on the field, that same injury would reoccur. And what she and I worked on together is acknowledging, yes, that is a real fault that doesn't need to be dismissed. It needs to be acknowledged. So once she could acknowledge, yes, I am very fearful, and yet I choose to step back on the field after the rehab and the PT and everything evolved and just try this again. That was her being resilient because she didn't let the fear stop her. She didn't use the fear as an excuse. She was willing to say, yes, this is my fear. It's real. And I'm going to see what happens as I get back on the field. So just the ability to adapt and the ability to adjust.
Indeed, indeed. You were the first blind student to earn a Master of Divinity from Princeton Theological Seminary. How did your faith and theology evolve during that season?
That season was an incredible gift to me because being the first, they were not equipped with people with disabilities in general, specifically, people who are blind. So the gift was, it taught me how to advocate for myself. It taught me that I have to know my needs, I have to clearly communicate my needs, and then trust them to provide. And the gift of what that taught me of advocating, clearly communicating my needs was, as a beloved creation, I'm worth having those needs met. So rather than being in that victim mentality of, oh, I'm just not worth it, or, oh, I'm too much trouble, I'm too much of a burden, stepping into that place and that confidence of, I'm a beloved creation. And when I ask for these needs and they meet the needs, that's great. That's a gift. I don't have to be sorry that I can't see, right? Like I can just clearly communicate what I need. So that was a deep, deep, deep gift for me to learn to advocate.
Indeed. As a pastor and spiritual leader, how do you talk about suffering and loss with people who are in the thick of it and not ready for silver linings yet?
Compassion. The word compassion means suffering with. And so what I always tell people in the thick of trauma, in the middle of adversity, the Spirit is present here with you. And as that, specifically as that spiritual leader, I'm here to support you, to offer compassion, to be with you in the pain, in the difficulty, rather than being, okay, let's move on, let's move forward. I'm just going to sit with you and be in the pain. We're not even going to get to that silver lining part. We're not even going to go there. We're just I'm just going to acknowledge the pain and be with you in the pain. And that is such a source of healing. I've experienced that when others have done that for me. And I've experienced it when walking alongside people in a spiritual leader role.
Where have you seen God or spiritual presence most clearly in the very places that felt the most dark or disorienting in your own story?
The unconditional love of God. In those most difficult moments, as you're describing, when we find ourselves in those most difficult, hopeless places, what I've always found and experienced is that unconditional love of God. And it comes through so many different ways. It comes just through a kind word of a stranger. it comes through, one day specifically, I was really, really struggling, and I just walked outside. It was early one morning, and I just walked outside, and we're in a country area. And so I had just had a bunch of wild turkeys that were just running around, just having fun, communicating with each other. Just hearing the turkeys communicate was a healing resource. And I can't put words to it. I can't describe how or why. I just knew that sound was God's presence. So some people tell me it's through music, through writing, through journaling, through, the laughter of a child. There's so many different ways we experience it. The main theme is experiencing God's love in those darkest times.
Your top tips is trusting that you are enough. What did it take for you to start believing that about yourself? And how do you help others move toward that truth?
So what helped me get to that understanding that I am enough is exactly what I described, of the experiencing God's love in those darkest places, in those places of extreme panic or hopelessness or intense times of grief. Feeling that love gave me the understanding, I am enough. If God can love me in this situation, not just in the good situations, that's what taught me and showed me that I'm enough. So the way that I teach that to others is that when they're in those difficult places, whatever that might be, spiritually, emotionally, again, circling back to that compassion, being that support to them, that I'm here with them in the pain, holding that space. In the spiritual world and the trauma world, it's called holding the space. So we just hold the space for people in difficulty. So that's how, through my actions, I convey to them, you are enough.
You also emphasize validating feelings. What does healthy emotional validation look like practically for ourselves and for people that we love?
Feeling what we feel. So again, I will use my life as my example, because this is my real world experience. I originally thought, if I feel the anxiety, if I feel the sadness, if I feel the anger, if I feel the grief, those feelings are going to overwhelm me, swallow me whole, and I'll feel that way for the rest of my life. I thought feeling the feelings meant living in those feelings forever, and there was no coming back from those feelings. What I've learned validating the feelings means is just that. Validating, if it's sadness, anger, whatever it is, validating that emotion, turning towards it, and then again, choosing to move forward. So it's not turning towards it to stay there forever. It's turning toward it to give it validation, to give it breath. So then we can move forward.
Indeed, indeed. Self-compassion can sound soft or indulgent to some people. How do you explain self-compassion as a courageous practice rather than a cop-out?
That makes me smile, because that's exactly what I used to think. I used to think self-compassion, like, seriously? I'm stronger than that. Just like a cop-out, like you said, like, oh, it's self-compassion is like, I don't need that, right? The way I've realized, and what has helped me the most with self-compassion for myself and what I teach others to have, is think about our very best friend. When our very best friend is in a difficult situation, what is typically, hopefully, as our best friend, their response? We support them. We care for them. What can I do? Like, we're there as support, not as like, oh, get over it, move on, and not as judge, just there as companion, as support, to be with them in that difficult process. Once I realized I could offer that to myself, that was a game changer. That's what allowed me to truly receive self-compassion and to be self-compassionate to myself. So does that make sense what I mean about treating ourselves as we would support a friend?
Oh, it makes perfect sense. I teach that all the time. It's funny how we would never, ever say such disparaging things to our friends or to our loved ones. Yet we often, our self-talk often, or until we correct it, will say it about ourselves that we're not good enough, or we're not, what we need to be, or we're not going to accomplish something. But we would never say, Tommy, you're not good enough. Tommy, you're not going to accomplish that. I mean, that would be...
Tommy, you are horrible at that.
What kind of friend would you be to Tommy? So why aren't you that same friend to yourself?
100%. I could not agree more.
What led you to write Harnessing Courage, and what is the core transformation you hope readers experience as they move through the book?
So the reason I wrote Harnessing Courage was because as I went through this grief process, I received such incredible support from my parents, my brother, family, community, support system was just incredible. They literally gave me hope when I had no hope. So because I had such great support, I did not want to just say, okay, great for me, end of story. I wanted to say, I received the support that empowered me forward. So let me go be that support in the world. So the passion, the drive for writing the book was to share and to be the support that I had received. The core message that I hope, and that is the reason I wrote the book, that people take away is living a foundation of grit and of gratitude. So when the difficulty comes, when the adversity comes, when the grief comes, we have that foundation and we have the balance of grit and gratitude to be resources to navigate forward. So my whole goal is empowerment, empowerment, empowerment.
Tell us about Ubi Global. Why did you start it, and how do you use speaking and coaching to help people navigate their own, I didn't sign up for this moments?
So the passion for the organization is 100% the same as the book. Again, because I received such support, I wanted to go and be that support in the world. So that's how, through the speaking to organizations, corporations, associations, and then also working with people on the coaching side, the one-on-one individual work, I want to be that support. So as people go through change, they have a resource to help them navigate through. And just as you said, and I could not agree more, none of us signed up for this change, right? Like, we didn't sign up for this difficulty. We didn't sign up for this adversity. And we certainly didn't sign up for it when it happened, right?
Right,
I mean, how many times do we all say,
I know that's right.
Yeah, I didn't expect that now, right? So we don't exactly plan for change. Well, we plan in the sense that we know it's coming at some point, but we don't plan for change in the deep ways it affects us. And so my goal through the speaking, through the coaching, is to be that support for others to help guide them through that most difficult change adversity.
Okay. All right. Many listeners feel stuck between grief over what's been lost and fear of what's ahead. What is one first step you would invite them to take after hearing this conversation?
Acknowledge your fear. And the reason I say that is, again, from my own life experience, I was deeply fearful about my future. Once I acknowledged that fear and gave myself permission to say, yes, I am deeply fearful and I'm not sure how this is all going to work out. Once I acknowledged that fear and the depths of that fear, it gave me the power to then say, okay, yes, I'm fearful. So today, all I have to do is one phone call or email or whatever it might be. All I have to focus on is one moment at a time. So I say that acknowledging the fear, because once we acknowledge the deep fear, it gives us strength and empowerment to then move forward moment by moment.
All right. Well, it's time for the highlight of the show, rapid fire. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
What is one word you use to describe courage?
Compassion.
Grit or gratitude? Which fuels you more?
Gratitude.
What's your go-to self-compassion practice?
Being in nature.
Blindness taught you what in one sentence?
Compassion, 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 compassion. Compassion would be the whole sentence.
What advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
Love yourself.
Favorite quote that keeps you inspired?
It's not what happens to you, it's how you respond.
What's a myth about adversity you want to bust?
In adversity, we need pity.
Morning ritual or routine you can't skip?
Taking just a few minutes in the morning to focus on deep breathing.
One book everyone should read on resilience?
Say that again, the internet cut out.
One book everyone should read on resilience?
Tuesdays with Maury.
How do you recharge on tough days?
Gratitude.
What's the hardest lesson you learned about suffering?
The hardest lesson was how lonely it feels.
Who has been your greatest source of strength?
Only one person?
I give you grace. As many as you like.
All right. Well, how about this? It just, honestly, it would be, if it has to be one person, that's hard. If it just has to be one word, I would say nature.
Okay.
One person is impossible. It's been, honestly,
fair,
it's been countless.
fair.
One word is nature.
I got you. How do you define enough in your own life?
Trusting and loving yourself.
What's the simplest way to practice gratitude daily?
Starting with one thing every day that you're grateful for. Just naming one thing.
Dream project you want to do next?
Just continuing this work of empowering others. I love empowering teenagers and young adults.
All right. If you could leave our Modern Therapy community with one sentence about living courageously in adversity, what would it be?
It would 100% be love yourself.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your powerful story, Laura. Your insights on courage, grit, and gratitude are truly inspiring and give us all hope in the face of adversity. Listeners and watchers, if you want to learn more about Laura's work, be sure to visit her website at www.laurabratton.com where you can find her book, Harnessing Courage, and explore her coaching and speaking services. You can also connect with her on social media. Links will be in the episode notes. And don't forget to subscribe to the More Than Therapy podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, where it's filled with authentic conversations about healing and growth. If this episode moved you, please leave a review and share it with your friends or colleagues who might benefit. We'll be back next week with another story of resilience and transformation. Until then, remember to take care of yourself and keep embracing your own courage. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
How to continue the talk with your friend about their mental health after you ask about how they were feeling. Put down that phone. Do it. Nobody's texting you. Phone down. Good. Now it's time to listen. If they're not ready to talk yet, check back in later.
I'm always here if you want to talk. Okay?
That was great.
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
Awkward.